Hey guys, this is Lindsay with Garage Gym Reviews. Today I have Destiny with me, which I am so excited about. We have had her on doing conversations, talking all about like supplements, protein specifically, some pre-workouts, but she is literally the most knowledgeable person that I know when it comes to any sort of nutrition facts, when it comes to how to train, when it comes to the, what supplements you should be taking in your training. And all of that. We are going to get into a full conversation about Transparent Labs Whey Protein Isolate, which is one of my favorite proteins that I've ever used. It's kind of my top pick, my go-to, something I'm always recommending people when they're asking me what protein they should be looking for. And there's a lot of key factors that go into what makes that a good recommendation. And we're going to tell you all about that. But first, make sure you are subscribed to this channel. Also, if you want to go ahead and purchase the Transparent Labs protein, use the link below the like button. When you use that link, it doesn't cost you anything extra, but it does just help give us a small commission, allows us to continue doing videos like this. So welcome, Destiny. Welcome back.
Thanks. I'm so happy to be back.
Okay, so we've done quite a few videos together in the past, but it's been a while. So for people who haven't seen those past videos, kind of introduce yourself, tell us what you do for work, what your credentials are, what you enjoy doing for fun. Tell us all about yourself.
All right. So my name is Destiny Moody. I am a registered dietitian and a board certified specialist in sports nutrition. I started my career at UC Berkeley, where I taught a course there called Intro to Nutrition for Sports Performance. And I also worked with over 100 student athletes during my 4 years there. And I absolutely loved that job. But it was a springboard for me to do other work with professional athletes. I was with the MLB, the San Francisco Giants, for the 2019 season. And then from 2020 to 2023, I was the head of performance nutrition for the NBA G League team Ignite, which is a G League team that had the most first round draft picks out of any other G League team. Not that it's a competition, but it totally is. But after I left the NBA, I started my own practice called the Athlete's Dietitian. So now I do one-on-one nutrition counseling via Zoom with athletes all over the country.
So no big deal. You don't know what you're talking about at all, obviously. She just arrived on the scene. No, that's so impressive. And I can imagine working with athletes was probably super rewarding because you get to see their progress. You get to fine tune everything, really dial in how to make them better athletes. And now you get to do that with your clients.
Oh, yeah. And I still get to see all my former athletes play. I was just watching one of my former athletes, Jalen Green, play in the playoffs just last night. And it is the best part of my job.
That's so fun. So I'm just curious, with your own private practice now, if somebody's coming to you, what exactly does that look like? How does that relationship work between you and your client? What are they looking for?
Oh, it really depends. I see a lot of people for injury recovery, but most people come to me for body recomposition and sports performance optimization. So if there's a triathlete that has a race coming up, they have absolutely no idea how to fuel, or somebody who is running their very first 10K and they don't know how to fuel. I think that my motto at my practice is that everybody deserves access to elite level sports nutrition, whether they're a beginning athlete or they're a pro. So they come to me, I do an assessment, see what it is that their lifestyle is like, what their cooking level is like, what their favorite foods are. And I do my best to just kind of meet them in the middle to bridge the gap between where they are and where it is that they want to be. But I take a very comprehensive and gradual approach to my practice.
And obviously, protein is probably a huge factor, a huge component. Would you say it's one of the most important factors when it comes to training hard, or how would you break that down?
I say that protein is the most important part of your diet, period. I would caution to say that. Whether you're trying to lose weight or whether you're an elite level athlete. In fact, if you're trying to lose weight, you probably need more protein than somebody who is just taking it in general for lifting. And I always do ask in my assessment whenever I first meet with someone is, are you taking a protein powder? Mm-hmm. Because 9 times out of 10, whenever we finish the session, at some point I am going to recommend some type of protein powder depending on their goals.
So what is a good recommended amount for somebody who's just trying to maybe just stay fit, stay healthy, maybe walking, some light lifting? What's a good amount that you would recommend for them versus somebody who's in the gym 5 days a week, lifting heavy, training heavy? What are those two numbers? in general that you could give?
So for the seasoned weightlifters, the myth that everybody hears is definitely not a myth. The 1 gram per 1 pound of body weight is a really great rule of thumb to start out with. Obviously, you may need to adjust up or down. Sometimes I need to adjust up or down depending on their existing muscle mass, their level of training, yada, yada. But that's always a great place to start. If it's somebody who's not really lifting, I don't give them a specific number that they need to hit unless we're trying to do an aggressive like body recomp. But I do tell them that you do need a healthy portion of some kind of protein in each of your main meals and your snacks. And if you're still feeling like you're hungry throughout the day, then try to find a protein powder, and something like a really good third-party tested protein shake is a good way to kind of keep your hunger at bay rather than reaching for something that's like a processed refined carbohydrate snack.
Right, because protein is one of the most like satiating, filling things that we can put into our body. So for the people who are trying to maybe lose weight, watch their caloric intake, watch what they're doing, grab that protein before you go to anything else.
Correct.
Okay, so let's talk about transparent labs. We've done a couple videos on transparent labs, but we've never done like a full in-depth review. So one of the things I always love, it's a protein whey isolate, and generally that's easier on people's stomachs. I know a lot of people have issues or have like fears when it comes to protein powder because maybe they've experienced like a cheaper protein powder and it's caused like bloating, indigestion, all of the things. And so why is it with a protein whey isolate, it's a little gentler on your stomach?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. For one, the isolate has isolated most of the protein from the whey, from the milk product, to remove a lot of the lactose. So if you are lactose intolerant, then having a whey protein isolate more often than not is a lot easier on your stomach because it doesn't upset those people that are lactose intolerant. But also, cheaper protein powders have a lot of extra ingredients in them. The danger of having a supplement in a powder form is that you can put other powders in it, like maltodextrin and all these other cheap kind of fillers, to just add the weight of the scoop. And the protein in it might be cheap on top of that. And when your body's trying to process all of those things that you didn't really sign up for to take, it can be really hard on your stomach.
Yeah, I know so many people who have, when I'm, training in the gym or talking to people who are saying, I know I need to get more protein, but I can't meet my protein goals without a protein powder. And I'm scared about taking a protein powder because I've had issues in the past. And so I'm always like, Legion is always a great one. And then Transparent Labs. Do you have any other kind of go-to proteins for people who are maybe sensitive or have had issues in the past? Like, what would be another one you would recommend?
I'm a huge fan of First Form, and I also love Dymatize.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody has ever heard of Dymatize, but they're Fruity Pebbles.
I was just going to say, they're Fruity Pebbles one. When my husband have an ice cream maker, and we will make ice cream with the Fruity Pebbles, oh my, it's like heaven. So I agree. That one is so good. And it's hydrolyzed, right? Which is kind of rare. Like, it's not as common to see that within a protein powder.
It's not very common because it's very expensive to hydrolyze. It's just like an extra step of processing, but it's very, very great for people that are super sensitive to lactose, because I think something crazy like 99.8% of the lactose is removed from it, whereas with an isolate, it's more about a 95, 96%.
So still up there. Still good.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Great. So one other thing that I want to talk about a little bit with Transparent Labs specifically is that it's free from basically artificial dyes, artificial sweeteners. So why do we want to stay away from that when we are consuming protein powder, or I guess anything in general?
One of those things you want to stay away from, first of all, if you just want to stay away from artificial things in general, then that's a no-brainer. But also, if you're somebody that is trying to lose weight, or you're somebody who has a lot of protein needs and you're going to be taking a lot of servings of these things daily, those sorts of things could add up. You know how dietitians always say bad things in moderation, that's fine, but some people are having 2 or 3 scoops of this stuff a day. So if you're having that much stuff artificially put in your body, it's not really ideal.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Now, I have a question. This is sweetened with stevia, which I actually really like, kind of the taste of stevia. So many people don't. Do you like the taste of stevia?
Okay, so here's the thing. I do not like the taste of stevia. I prefer something more like a monk fruit if we're talking about a natural sweetener, because I'm not a fan of the aftertaste. But whenever it's in a protein powder, especially with Transparent Labs, I don't taste it.
Right.
I don't know what it is about it.
I know. That's the thing is like if I put stevia in a tea or something, I get what people are talking about, even though it doesn't bother me. But anytime I've had any flavor from Transparent Labs, I don't know if you've tried their s'more flavor. It is like, it's so good right now. I'm like hyper fixated on it, but I don't taste any sort of that like weird aftertaste that people get. So I would tell people, if you are weird about stevia, like just go ahead and give it a try anyways, because I think you'd be surprised that you're not going to notice.
Totally agree.
Okay, so another thing that they say on their website is that it is grass-fed cows. Why is this important? I'm like, listen, I would be a cow. If you told me be an animal, Linz, I would say you want me to just lay out in the sun all day and chill? 100%. I'd sign up to be a cow. Like, that sounds great. But, like, why are grass-fed cows better?
Grass-fed cows are definitely living it up. I think you would make a great grass-fed cow, by the way.
Thank you so much.
I think it shows a great spirit animal. No, I actually wrote an article about this. Okay. Two things with grass-fed whey. I will say that a lot of my favorite protein powder brands are grass-fed, and the flavor is significantly different. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because the cows are treated better or whatnot.
We're happy cows.
Yeah, exactly. The flavor is great, but I do have to caution people that the nutritional quality is about the same between grass-fed and non-grass-fed whey, because the thing is, the grass-fedness really informs the fat composition of the cow. It informs, their meat and whatnot. So if you're buying a steak, that's something that you want to look at. But considering, especially with a product like Transparent Labs, where we're just looking at the dairy and the protein component of it, it doesn't really impact the nutritional value of the protein powder, just so that everyone knows that.
So really, it's not going to impact the nutritional profile, but it does lean into probably tasting better. There is like a smoothness when you compare like a grass-fed cow protein to something that is not. It feels almost like richer, in my opinion.
100%.
Yes. Great. Okay, so let's talk about macro profile when it comes to protein. I think that Transparent Labs has like a fantastic macro protein. For one scoop, it's like 28 grams of protein, which I feel like is high when we compare it to other proteins out there. 1 gram of carb and then 1 gram of fat. Is that ideal, or could there be some adjustments? Or let's say somebody is trying to hit a protein, a high protein intake, but they're also training for a high rocks, or they're training for a marathon. What should they add in to make sure they're getting like the necessary nutrients they need for their training?
Yeah, I would say Transparent Labs probably has the best macros of any protein powder that I've seen. It's really hard to get almost 30 grams of protein in a scoop like that without there being some fat or carbohydrates sneaking in. And there are some other products that have like 0 fat and 0 carbs, but like you look at the ingredients on those, or they've gone through so much processing that it's not as natural having like 5 or 6 ingredients like Transparent Labs does. So I think that it's really impressive of a macro profile, especially for somebody that is trying to cut and they're trying to keep their fat and their carb intake to a minimum and just get the protein. This will be something that's ideal, especially due to the low calories. Now, if you're trying to take this protein while you also have some performance goals where you need some carbohydrates and fat, I still think that Transparent Labs is perfect, because at the end of the day, I don't think you should be getting your carbs and your fat from a protein supplement, because it's a protein supplement. I'd rather you get the protein from the supplement and then you eat some sort of healthy carbohydrate that also has other nutrients and other vitamins and minerals that you get along with it that you wouldn't get from a protein powder.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Okay, 2 more questions. 1, Transparent Labs is third-party tested. Why is this important, and why do we recommend people buy a protein powder that is third-party tested?
So it's important for 2 reasons, for 2 different populations. For the general public, it's great for it to be third-party tested, because that means that a lab that's not affiliated with the company has tested it to make sure it has the amount of protein that's in it and that it doesn't have any adulterated substances. And this could be things like banned substances like anabolic steroids, or it could be things like heavy metals that just would not do well for your health over time. So that gives you some assurance that the product is safe, because there are some people that have labels that have ingredients that aren't listed because the FDA doesn't regulate them. For professional athletes that have to submit to drug testing, they definitely want to make sure that things are third-party tested, because if they get drug tested and it's like, surprise, you have anabolic steroids in your system because you got a shady protein powder, guess what? Now you're in trouble, and you've probably gotten yourself a fine for what reason?
And for something you probably weren't even aware of at that point.
It happens all the time, Lindsay, all the time.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, we've talked about this with pre-workouts before, where they will say, oh, it's got this proprietary blend, and you read the proprietary blend and you think, oh, I'm getting all these good things, but then it doesn't really say what else is in there, or it doesn't give the grams or whatever of exactly the creatine or the L-taurine or whatever. So you just don't know. So I love that Transparent Labs, and I think we've also talked about this, like on their website, you can literally find every single ingredient, every single percentage of what ingredient is in that. Like there's a reason it's called Transparent Labs.
Yes, and I am so impressed by that with this brand.
Yeah. So I will say Transparent Labs does tend to be a little bit more pricey than maybe some other proteins that people can find. So it's like $59 for 30 servings. Why do you think, if you were just to say like, listen, it is worth it to spend this much versus buying a cheaper protein, like what would you tell somebody who's like sticker shocked by the cost of $60 for a tub of protein?
Well, I mean, it really depends on how much they value the transparency of what it is that they're getting, making sure that they're actually getting what's listed on the label. If they're a professional or a college athlete, then it's definitely worth the cost because the ramifications are just way too great for a riskier, a shadier protein powder, I guess I should say. And it's not even just the price that we're looking at. We're also looking at the value of what you're getting. How many times can you find a protein powder that only has 6 ingredients? It tells you exactly what's in it, and it's third-party tested, and it's got great macros. So whenever you are checking off your pros and cons of what you're looking for in a protein powder when you're shopping, that is something that I would say is worth the cost, especially if you're only taking it, once a day or just on the days that you're training.
Right. Yeah, that's so good. Okay, is there any other things that you could speak to with Transparent Labs, or any advice you'd want to give somebody who's trying to up their protein intake?
Well, for people that are trying to up their protein intake, I would say I know we've been singing the praises of Transparent Labs, but don't get too reliant on them for your protein intake. I would still say try to structure your meal planning in a way that lets you get as much protein from your diet as possible, and then just fill in the gaps with the protein powder.
Yeah.
Also get with a registered dietitian if you're unsure what your protein needs are. But as far as Transparent Labs goes specifically, I think that we've covered it. The thing is, it doesn't have that many ingredients, so there's not really a lot to talk about. It's just what you see is what you get with this brand, and there's very, very few protein powder brands that can say that.
Yeah, that's the thing I like is like when I'm looking over any sort of protein, any sort of pre-workout, and the list is so long of everything in it. I'm like not somebody who knows even half of the stuff that you do. I know enough and I'm feeling overwhelmed. So imagine like the everyday person or somebody who's just entering into the fitness space or trying to track his stuff. Like, can you imagine them trying to navigate all of these ingredients and really figure out if they are beneficial to them? Like, that's crazy. So I agree. Like the fact that Transparent Labs has like 5 ingredients, it's clean protein, it's worth the cost to me. And I do think it's probably one of my favorite flavoring out of all the companies, although I am partial to Legion cinnamon cereal. I think, it's so good. It's so good.
Pretty cereal girly personally, but
you can get on board with cinnamon cereal sometimes though.
Yes, absolutely. That definitely makes its way into the rotation.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Destiny. I definitely want to do this again. We are going to be going through a lot more supplements here for GGRE. And so having these types of I'm going to be cheesy, transparent conversations are like so helpful. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this with us.
Thanks for having me, Lindsay.
Awesome. Well, guys, make sure you are subscribed to this channel so you can see more videos with me reviewing cardio equipment, recovery equipment, or conversations with Destiny. And if you do want to go ahead and purchase this, or you have any comment concerns, make sure to leave those below so we can answer them. This has been Lindsay with Grassfed Reviews.